I am so excited to bring you all my vision of the American biker.
What it do, everybody? I'm the professor, aka Fat Man Go Fast, and I'm an American biker.
Hello, Professor. Welcome to the show. Welcome to American Biker. Thanks for being a part of this project. I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure.
So we've been trying to do this for a while in life and today.
Yes. It's been an adventure, right?
Yeah, and we're finally here, and this is going to be a beautiful thing, and I'm so excited about it. I want to ask you what I ask all of my guests that I have on all of my shows. When did you first fall in love with motorcycle culture?
Well, I definitely easily fell in love with motorcycles as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But the culture, when I was in my late teens and then kind of early adult life, my best friend, one of my best friends from high school, he rides, his father as well, but his father is the president of the oldest African-American motorcycle club in Indianapolis, where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
Rough Riders, ROUGH Rough Riders.
Okay, so okay,
right, like not the popular RUFF.
Right.
They just, it was always kind of part of the life around them. Mm-hmm. So like, his father had a garage full of bikes, and
mm-hmm.
Guys coming over the house, and they was going down to the clubhouse, and the clubhouse ended up being right around the corner from my grandmother's house, and so all these things just kind of ended up meshing together.
Mm-hmm.
And the more they kind of became family to me, I was spending every weekend at their house and hanging out, and so it was like that part of their life also trickled into mine.
Yeah.
So so at that point it was like, all right, this is interesting.
Yeah.
This is I'm digging this. Yeah.
All right, so just a little bit background about you. You are an art professor, and you are an artist as well. Tell us a little bit about being an artist and being an art professor.
I'm a photographer primarily. I kind of dabble in a variety of things, but the bulk of my background is in photography, and for me, I teach here in the Nashville area at Middle Tennessee State and Belmont University, and I've been teaching now since 2003 in some capacity at the college level for the most part, and I love it. It's great that it gives me a chance to really combine my passion for writing with my artwork, and that a lot of my photographs are about bike culture or about the open road, or kind of bringing these two lives together.
Yeah. So. All right. So you are a professor of art as well. Yes. And you're currently teaching at Belmont. But more than that, you have an art exhibit on display right now, right out of Sarasota, Florida. Tell us a little bit about your art display, and what is your inspiration behind, or who is your inspiration rather, behind the art that you do as to photography? So
the work that's up on display right now is actually it's in a little city called Bradenton, which, as you said, is outside of Sarasota, at a school called State College of Florida, and it's two bodies of work. One is called Black Bikers. The full title's Black Bikers, End of Danny Lyon and Cultural Refuge.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny Lyon was this photographer in the late 60s who was the first to really investigate motorcycle culture photographically and really kind of from the inside. Like he was allowed to like travel with them and kind of be part of the Chicago Outlaws. And he was never like a member of the club, but he was like allowed into their fold.
Yeah.
So we see those images like from the interior, but a lot of them like are what we kind of stereotypically think of as like what motorcycle culture and like bikers were, and primarily Caucasian, right? So it really only shows one side of the equation, and in a very specific time period when they were still seen as like a threat to society and all these and all these ideas. So I wanted to create a body of work with the Black Biker series that really began to express what it meant to see what the changing face of motorcycle culture was, which to me was minorities, particularly the African American biker and minority clubs and black clubs that had begun to spring up. So I began shooting a series of portraits of black bikers that I started shooting at events. So I would travel to events with my camera, and whether it was at the roundup or a club event or whatever the case may be, and just ask people if I take their portrait, and usually give them like a quick rundown of the of the project, so they didn't think I was some weirdo or something.
Can I take your picture?
Right, exactly. The next one, it's always like, what's this for? But there are these portraits that are kind of two-sided. There's one half of them is a more straightforward portrait of the person, oftentimes in their their vest or whatever, and then the second half of the image is them turned around, so you just get a shot of their colors or the back of the vest. And the idea behind that is, right, there's two sides of all of this, right? And particularly in biker culture, there's the biker life, thing that's a passion, the thing that we love to do, the thing that we feel connected to, which is as much as part of who we are as our profession or our role as a parent, our role as a sibling, right, or whatever the case may be, like whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, fireman, whatever, an engineer, whatever.
Right.
It's so it's like there's that thing that people see on a regular basis, and then there's the thing that the biker community sees or people see in passing that they kind of judge.
Yeah.
But they forget that really these two things are kind of one part of the same whole, and they're not, they're not stereotypes that you can plug people into, right? So the same people who are working on that building down the street from your house, right, who say hi to you every day and are pleasant as can be, are oftentimes the same people who are out riding with 20 other guys on the weekend.
Right. Or the doctor that gave you your surgery or the attorney that represented you in court. We are an involved person, right? Bikers are more than just badasses. They are. Yes. They are.
So, I mean, we're still badasses in our own right.
Yeah, but you're more than that, right? Yeah,
you're Dr. Badass.
Exactly. You're both. You're both. It's a dual thing, and I love that. Another lady that I interviewed, she's a nurse practitioner, and she's up in New York, like doing the COVID-19. But she's out of Dallas, and so she is one of the people that are doing American Biker, and we were saying that, like, yeah, we're still badasses, but we're more than that as well.
Right.
We're more than that. All right. So your art display is going to be down there throughout this summer with everything that's going on. It's going to be there for a while, right?
Yeah. So, and like I said, there's that, and then there's a second body of work called North American Portraits that's part of it, and that's more about the act of the road trip itself, where like I meet random people along the way and just kind of take their portrait, and this kind of in this idea of, what happens when you kind of experience the open road, and you have these trips and you build these experiences, and the people that you meet along the way, like the fact that we're kind of connected by the highway system, and the fact that like that connection kind of gives us some sense of identity as like amongst one another, but it's also in that same identity that like some people feel very safe and some people don't feel safe at all, or when we talk about immigrants and things, and a lot of things that are going on in culture and society today. So it kind of explores that kind of space of kind of how we all kind of feel in this kind of like space of national identity. Like, you know, do you feel like you have access? Do you feel like you're like counted amongst the whole? Do you feel like you need to isolate? Do you feel like you know? So there's a whole second side of that too, which is explored by that body of work.
That's very neat. That's very neat. I want to see it in person. I've seen some of the things that you put up on your blog. The professor runs a blog, Fat Man Goes Fast. He does a lot of his stuff on Instagram and Facebook, and that's where I am able to follow along. And I'll link in the description a link to all of his social media things. But tell us a little bit about Fat Man Goes Fast. I love it.
So, Fat Man Goes Fast was I don't know, like a weird like side project that started up at one point where when I started taking the photographs, it was like I wanted to kind of separate my like everyday work that I was doing for photography from the biker work. So I kind of built like Fat Man Go Fast as this kind of place to kind of tell the story of the like just journey on the motorcycle. So it started out as a blog on WordPress and then has evolved into the Instagram feed, and sometimes kind of trickles back and forth between the two, but for the most part kind of just tells the larger story of my journey and kind of who I meet along the way, and as a place to kind of talk about the everyday experiences that I have on the bike and the people to connect with and the events that I go to and kind of all the stuff that comes along with it. And it's kind of in a weird way, it's the dual, it's like the other side of me. It's like I have the side that keeps my kind of professional life in its little bubble, and there's the Fat Man Go Fast, which is its own bubble. The two, of course, like trickle in and out of each other in fun ways. So it was really more, like I said, just a way to kind of build a persona for the work, for the bike work, and then also a website. And it was, you know, primarily started out as the name of the website and the blog, like it kind of created its own weird identity from there. It's like people got attached to it and they were like, oh yeah, I love the name and that sort. So like, so we made patches and logos.
There you go. So where can we find those patches? Can we order those patches?
So I have them. So if people contact me, I'll and do what I can to get them to you. I'll hold one back for you, so when I see you, you got one coming.
I love it. Yeah. All right, so one thing that I love that you do with Fat Man Goes Fast is while you're traveling and crossing all these state lines, you go to these restaurants and you kind of like detail out what you ate there and where it is and everything. So what is the best restaurant that you've been to while you've been out here crossing these state lines?
On the road. So while there are a lot of like stellar places, I always love like the neighborhood spots, like some place that somebody recommends in their town or whatever. You know, so there's so many of those. One of my favorites, like stateside, I guess, is which it's not like a hole in the wall by any means, but there's a little barbecue spot in St. Louis called Pappy's. That has just like great unsauced barbecue, which like, in my opinion, is always like a selling point for me. I'm like, if you can make a good burn in without sauce on it, like I'm all in. And then in Montreal, there's this great spot called Joe Beef, which is like a kind of a mid-level kind of dining place. And they like squeezed me in one night when they were really packed when I was in Montreal for a few days on the bike. And I had one of the greatest meals ever. It was a horse steak, that's usually the look that people give me. But it was seriously one of the best meals I've ever had in my entire life. I literally shared it with strangers sitting next to me who were equally as like oddly inquisitive. And I swayed them over to the dark side. But so those are the. But it's like, you know, I love those like little farm to table spots like that, and little interesting little finds that you can kind of come across, and you know, it's like I have my like that's like the one thing that I afford myself when I'm on the road trip. It's like I'll skimp on places to stay, I'll sleep on people's couches, I'll do whatever I can to save money there. But it's like if I can find a good place to eat, then I'm gonna hop on it.
There you go. So shout out to all my Canadian followers.
There you go.
So you can go and eat a horse steak if you're in Montreal at this restaurant.
Dill beef. There you go.
All right, I won't be doing it anytime soon, but it sounds great. It sounds great. All right, so what's your most memorable trip?
That same trip. I've had some really great ones. I mostly traveled by myself, but that same trip was kind of the first really long solo trip that I did successfully. I tried one before and blew the engine out on a bike, and so it was crazy. So this one started out by leaving from South Carolina, where I was at the time, and going up to Columbus, Ohio, for an event, and then make my way over to the East Coast and going all up the East Coast to Vermont, and crossing over into Canada, into Quebec, and hanging out there for a few days, and then crossing the Canadian territories over to Toronto, and kind of crossing over up in northern Michigan. And then after a stop to visit family, make my way back to eventually Colorado, and then beginning the trip back to the roundup that year, which was Kansas City.
Yeah.
So kind of this very weird, I can't even call it a loop because it's such a weird shape.
Yeah, it's like it's like weird. All right, so what was most
got me home.
Yeah, what was most memorable about it? Was it the different terrains or the different? What was? Why did you like it so much?
I think one of the things that one of the things I think attracts a lot of motorcycle riders is just the sights that you see along the way.
Yeah.
So for me, I get real kind of giddy about seeing little out of the way pockets of the country, or that little store with that interesting sign outside, or that little that tiny little one shack post office in northern Vermont, that's this real colorful it would be like a TV show about some weird isolated town in Vermont. It's that's what the post office would look like, because they want you to feel like it's a small town and in the middle of nowhere. And it's you come across that thing and you're that's so quaint and cool. I won't see that in the big city.
Right. It has a lot of character, right? Yeah.
Right. So it's you're able to experience places in ways that you just don't when you're just popping around your town. So seeing the woods of the cutting through the countrysides of New Hampshire and Vermont, and the fields up for the farmer, for the farmlands up in Quebec, and it's just those things for me kind of really stand out more than kind of some of the bigger things. It's I love being in the city and experiencing some of those things and popping around Montreal and going to spots. But it's it's the road trip that's worth it.
Right. It makes you feel it has to make you feel like the world is so big. You know what I mean? We tend to, or it's bigger than just the neighborhood that I live. There's these other places, and there's these other things, and it's so beautiful, and it's just exploring, right? Just the universe, I don't know. It's just beautiful.
But it's also it makes you feel small, and that you're I can still get from point A to point B, right? It's these things aren't unattainable. These things aren't things that are inaccessible to me, right?
Yeah.
I just have to make a plan and do it.
It's not this abstract thing. It could be very real. Exactly. All I have to do is make the plan and execute.
Right. So yeah, and it's it's having those moments that are really awesome. I also got the chance to ride in Thailand years ago.
Oh wow!
Which is really cool. Of course, I didn't ride over there, but
how could you? That's a new form of transportation.
We rented a bike while I was there for I was invited over because I had some work in a museum. While I was there, I was like, I just want to experience the countryside. I want to see this place. So like I had a day free one day, and I rented a bike and spent I woke up, early in the morning, hit the road, and came back the next morning, and there's a mountain, and it was the highest mountain in all of Thailand, and I was like, I want to ride to the top of that mountain.
Oh my God, you rode the bike up there?
Yeah, so I did.
Oh my God. See, I didn't know you were that much of a daredevil. So what was that like?
It was awesome. The best thing about that was like being in a country where I don't speak the language at all. Like, it was like you're just doing your best to get by. But even along the way, like you meet people who still help and who still like try and help you navigate and get and kind of figure this whole thing out as best they can. With their broken English or my broken Thai.
Right.
But it like still worked out, right? And so I got to hang out with elephants. I got to like have
I love elephants.
Little like mountainside town, like this little like overlooking like a river, and like it's crazy. So at the end of the day, at the top of the highest mountain in Thailand.
That to me would have been my that would have been my most memorable book. Who am I to tell you? Who am I to tell you?
Well, it's weird. It's like it sits in a different pocket in my head because because it's a different kind of trip. It's like not something that like I hopped on the bike.
It was a day trip in essence. Yeah. Right. I totally understand that. Yeah. All right. So with everything going on with the country being basically closed down right now, what are you most looking forward to this summer as much as you can do?
Well, originally the plan was to ride to Alaska this summer, and that kind of fell apart, and trying to get a pocket of the corner that are still the states that I haven't ridden to. With that being down, we're going to push that off, likely we've got a trip to Texas coming up in June or July. Down to the Dallas area, there's a new chapter of the State Burners who I'm really close with that opened up in Dallas. So we're going to try to catch up with those guys. I think one of the guys from the Woodbridge chapter is going to ride with me. So we're going to head down there and catch up with some other friend of mine, a guy who just started riding. So we're going to introduce him to
Lord,
the craziness a little bit.
He's not ready for y'all.
He's not ready.
He's not ready for y'all.
He's not ready. So there's that. And then just kind of local trips. I'm going to try and maybe get down to Memphis and do some barbecue and food spots I want to hit. In North Carolina, so I think I'm going to take a trip out there and literally just go grab a bite to eat, hang out for the night, come back.
Turn and burn.
There's also and there's some little things that I've kind of wanted to do as I've kind of started connecting with some different people on the roads. I was introduced to like the IVA Association, so I want to start doing some of those rides. So it's like with no real big event plans this summer, thanks to all the cancellations. I'm like, why not just do some of those things? So I'll get out and do some of the 24-hour rides and kind of get some miles in as best I can.
It's going to be fun regardless, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be fun regardless.
I'll get some miles, some good food. Who can complain?
Yeah. All right. So before you get up out of here, tell us what you ride. So
I ride a 2010 Harley Road King, which her name's Lady Luck. She's survived a few things along
Is she
the
green?
way. Nothing major. She's green.
Okay.
She's green with a kind of gold and silver, like two-tone gold and silver, then with green trim. So it just seemed to make sense.
Yeah.
And the very first ride when I got her, I was like run off the highway in the middle of a rainstorm in Virginia, and I like slid almost into the guardrail, and I broke my foot because my foot kind of came off the peg and smacked the guardrail.
Yeah.
But the bike luckily did not hit it. It was fine. But broken foot, I rode the rest of my way to North Carolina, and like then proceeded to my foot to swell up inside my boot over the night.
So you just kept riding?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, once you're going, you just keep going, right? That's stuff.
Yeah.
You only get so wet. And but she's recently been hit, so she's gonna get repainted, and she'll still keep the name, but she's gonna look a little different. So
Yeah.
repaint some new parts, and we'll see what she looks like in about a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely love your stories, and I appreciate you being a part of this show, showcasing bikers as an evolved biker, right? The American biker. I appreciate you doing the show. Very much so.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so keep up that blog, because we want to keep up with what you're doing, because it's so interesting. So keep it up for us.
Well, definitely, and like I said, I'm going to be updating too, and I have a new website that's going to be coming up, so I'll make sure that I get that information to you when that happens too, and that'll kind of bring together the blog, the Instagram, a lot of that stuff will be kind of housed in the same place finally, so you can access it from one location. So hopefully it'll be an easier way to kind of tell the story and get people connected. And so my goal is to hopefully keep connecting people, right? It's like, I don't just want people to connect with me, but I want them to connect with one another. Yeah. So hopefully I can help do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Professor.
It's my pleasure.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. All right.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you all for watching this episode of American Biker. In the comment section, shout out some amazing American bikers that you know in your community that are doing these amazing things. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. And thank you. You all continue to watch for Bikers on the Road. Winn Dixie, out.